have a little pen. I hope you guys have some paper, because if there's anything that you know about me, when we start talking about harnessing the power of your vision, I would love the opportunity for each and every single one of you to take that pen and to put that pen to paper, because I'll tell you what, when that ink hits that paper, things get real. Yeah, that is a Rams helmet from the Super Bowl champion Rams. All right, everybody, are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? I know you guys know that I'm ready, but the question is, are you ready? So welcome to this opportunity for us to discuss your vision. This is harnessing the power of your vision. If you didn't know already, you are currently joined. It's not just you. It's not just me. We have individuals in our room right now from all across the world, every single time zone. We also have individuals from sales, individuals that are entrepreneurs. We have individuals that are teachers. We've had people sign up from all walks of life. There are professional athletes that I work with from the NFL and the NBA that are live. There are executives from front offices of professional sports teams that are joining us right now. There are collegiate coaches and collegiate athletes joining us right now. But the exciting thing for me is this is all about each and every single one of you from all those walks of life, across all of those time zones. This is our opportunity to be together to talk about your vision and the things that you want in your life. So let's think about this for a second. Vision. How important is vision? Now, before we talk about your vision and I ask a couple of questions, all right, I want to share something about me, because I want to share that my opportunity to be with all of you is a direct result of the fact that I have been shaken to the core, knocked down in my life personally and professionally. I'm talking about shaken to the core, the point you did not want to get up off that mat of life. And I've had mentors and coaches who have been there to help me remain clear on my vision on the days that I did not want to do it. I've been through so much challenge and adversity. I'm an emotional dude. I mean, I even cry when I watch American Ninja Warrior these days. You see like all these stories of what people go through to have that opportunity to compete. My wife will look at me like, are you crying? I'll be like, heck yeah, I'm crying right now. Because I recognize that that person had a dream. And I recognize that I've been knocked down and these people made it through their challenges. You've been through challenge. Each and every single one of us, we've been through challenge. And I know for me in my life, the periods of time where I've been challenged, the periods of time when I've been knocked down, when my vision has been clear, it's given me the ability to rise up. So I want to start by asking a couple of questions of all of you. When is the last time that you got clear on your vision? And I'm not just talking about saying, I have a vision, maybe thinking in your mind, here are some goals or dreams that I have, but I'm referring to you being so clear on your vision that you actually had the courage to take out a pen, to allow that ink to touch the paper, to make that vision, to make those goals real. When's the last time you just let it all go and you connected to the vision and everything that you wanted for your life? What I would love the opportunity for all of you to do right now is just to take a moment, to take a pause. And we're just going to use one, but you could do this for personal goals. You could do this for professional goals. But here's what I would want for all of you. Just write down one goal right now. Write down a goal on paper right now. This is the start of talking about your vision. Write down a goal, because your goal, that's your vision. You know, we all have the opportunity in our mind's eye to look up into the sky and to write on the canvas of our imagination all of the things we believe we can achieve. It starts with the belief in you. And when you have that belief and you have vision, it causes you to have applied pressure on a daily basis to take the action necessary to make those things happen. But before we get ahead of ourselves, please write down a big goal. And when I say a big goal, I'm talking about a goal that you've thought about it in the past, but up to this point, you've never written it down on paper. You know what? Personal or professional, you choose. You got it? Now, here's where the challenge comes in. And I'm challenging all of you out of love, all right? Out of love. Look back down at that goal for me. Look down at the goal. I want you to look at it. I want you to read it. I want you to internalize it. I want you to picture yourself actually achieving what you wrote down. But before you achieve, you in your mind, picture yourself achieving that goal, I want you to do something for me. I want to ask you another question. Did you protect yourself? In writing down what you wrote down, did you protect yourself? Remember, the question was to write down a big goal. But what many of us do is our natural instinct is to write down a goal, but to still protect ourselves because we say, gosh, do I really want to go all in? Because if I make the goal we're talking like a real big goal. I'm talking like a crazy big goal, the kind of goal that makes you uncomfortable. Then we have to do something about it. So I got to ask you, did you protect yourself when you wrote down the goal? Was it the real goal, the real one that challenged you? Now I'm going to give you another opportunity. If you protected yourself, and here's the reality, right? Here's the reality. The reality is, this is between you and you. Nobody's seeing this. This is you. This is me. Nobody's seeing your answer right now. So this is your opportunity to go all in, to really challenge yourself, to get uncomfortable, to see what you're really made of. The coaches and mentors that I still have in my life today, they constantly challenge me to evaluate how big my vision is, in order to drive myself to take the action on a daily basis, in order to use all the potential that you've been given. Now, let me ask you a question before I give you an opportunity to maybe change your goal and make it bigger. Think of this. If you change your goal and you make it even bigger, and let's just say, for instance, you fall short. Help me understand, what are the terrible, horrible, awful things that happen to you when you fall short of setting a really big goal? I ask this question of audiences all the time when we talk about planning and we talk about vision. I always ask the question, what are the terrible, horrible things that happen if you set the goal even bigger and for some reason you fall short? You give it your very best. You stay in your lane. You have the ability to look in the mirror at the end of every single day and say, today I gave it everything that I've got. But you fall short. What are the terrible, horrible things that happen? And you know what? The room you're in right now, there is probably silence because nobody ever gives me an answer. Because the reality is, oftentimes when we think big enough, even if we fall short, we continue to grow like crazy. And we recognize that we challenged ourselves. We've tested ourselves, and we found out what we're really made of. And I don't know about you, but for me, the times I've set really big goals, where I really had to go to my coaches, I really had to go to my mentors, I felt like I was knocked down. I felt like I didn't want to get back up. The work was hard. I was uncomfortable. I was challenged. Those are the periods of time I have learned the most about myself. So if we're going to be on here today, and you're going to take your time for us to talk about you harnessing the power of your vision, harnessing the power of your vision, then I'm going to give you another shot. How about the opportunity to write down an even bigger goal? If you know for a fact that nothing bad is going to happen, then this is now your opportunity to lock in, to look down at that goal, to not protect yourself, and to go all in. Take this opportunity to write down for you that big goal, that big dream. Don't protect yourself. It's going to make you uncomfortable, but what is the real vision? Now is your time. Write that one down for me. All right. You got it? You have it? Do you have that big goal, that big vision? Here's what happens when you have a big vision. As I mentioned, that vision gives you the ability to apply pressure every single day. So let me tell you a story about a big vision, a big story about uncomfortable story about how maybe you are feeling right now, having written that big vision, that big goal down on paper. And this is just the start. This is one example. Imagine if you did this with many areas of your life and many goals that you have personally and professionally. So this story is about a young man by the name of Will Compton. Will and I met over Twitter over 4 years ago. When Will and I met, Will was an undrafted free agent out of the University of Nebraska. He had just graduated from college. And when I say undrafted, that means that Will, just like all of you, had reached another point in his life where the world had told him it's not your time. You see, Will had always had a dream of being an NFL player. Yet what he always experienced was people telling him, you're too slow. That dream is too big. That dream is not for you. That dream is for somebody else. People would actually tell his parents that that dream was too big, that that wouldn't happen for his son. So there were periods of time in Will's life where the critics of people would say that the NFL would never be for him. Just like many of you, when you write down your goals, oftentimes we have fears. What will other people say? Will they support us? Will they support us? So here Will was, undrafted free agent, which meant even though he was a captain, even though he was one of the greatest linebackers to ever play at the University of Nebraska, Will now was in a situation where he was undrafted and waiting for a team to sign him. He ends up getting signed by the Washington Redskins. Now keep in mind, for those of you that maybe don't like sports, if you're an undrafted free agent in the NFL, what that means is that you basically have been invited to training camp. Your actual likelihood of making that team is unlikely. That's like an invitation to say, hey, let us use your body for 3 weeks, and then when we're done, we're going to send you home and you can start your life. So think about that. Think about that. Undrafted. How many people would have given up at that point? Well, Will and I had a mutual friend that introduced the two of us during this period of time. And back in July of 2013, after several Twitter messages back and forth, I had offered to Will, let's get together and talk about mental toughness training, getting connected on your vision, getting connected on what is important to you. We ended up meeting and setting up 4 meetings, once a week, every single week, the same time for the 4 weeks before he went to his first NFL training camp. Will and I meet at a Panera Bread in between Bonne Terre, Missouri and St. Louis, Missouri at Arnold, Missouri, right in between our 2 homes, and we meet. The first time we meet, Will sits down. Will sits down, and I say to him, what's on your mind? And the first thing that Will says, he says, if things don't work out with the Redskins, there's 31 other teams. Now, as soon as he said that, I knew I had him. So I asked him a question. I said, Will, what if you forgot about the 31 other teams? What if from this moment forward, you looked yourself in the mirror at the beginning of the day, regardless of depth charts or what the critics say, and you said to yourself, I am a linebacker with the Washington Redskins. And what if in the middle of the day when you have doubts and uncertainties, you reminded yourself, I am a linebacker with the Washington Redskins? And what if at the end of the day, before you put your head down on the pillow, you told yourself, I am a linebacker with the Washington Redskins? Now, before I tell you any more about Will, let's talk about you again. What would happen if you currently have doubts, fears, and uncertainties about the big goal that you wrote down? If it's big enough, it should make you uncomfortable. You should be wondering, how am I going to make that happen? What if you believed that you had already achieved that goal before it happened? What if you looked down on that goal? Maybe somebody wrote, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to run a marathon. And instead of just saying, I'm going to run a marathon, you said, I am a marathon runner. What if it's being the number one salesperson in your company if you're in sales. I am the leader in sales. So I looked at Will and I asked him those questions, and he looked at me and he said, I'm going to start doing that every single day. He said, I am a linebacker with the Washington Redskins. I'm talking about his eyes were popping out of his head. I thought he was going to jump across the table and tackle me. Middle linebacker, ready to tackle me in the middle of Panera Bread. You see, Will had changed his thoughts and his perspective. Just like now that you've written down this big goal for you, you can shift your thoughts and perspective and believe in that vision that you can make it happen. 24 hours later, I'm pulling into a lunch meeting in St. Louis, and I get a text message from Will. And the text message says, do you drink coffee? And I thought, do I drink coffee? What kind of a weird, strange message is that to get? I just met Will, do I drink coffee? So I responded back, yes. He then responds back to me. Next time you work out, great post-workout drink. Coffee, whey protein, and honey. And I'm thinking, man, this is really strange now, right? Like, I just met him. What is he sending to me? So then I respond back to him, that sounds great. I'll try it. He then responds back to me, that is what a linebacker with the Washington Redskins drinks. You see, Will had shifted his perspective in 24 hours. Now he's joking with me about it, right? I'm locked in. I'm believing it. So I'm not just saying today you're writing this down on paper. I'm saying you write it down on paper and you look at it and you believe it. And once you believe in it, many of you are going to recognize that things you've already done in your life, action you've already taken, is some of the same action you'll need to take in order to achieve the goals. So you know what else I asked Will? You know what else I asked him when we were together that day? I said, let's write down other goals. Let's write down your 1-year vision. Let's write down your 5-year vision. Let's get really, really clear on the things that you want in your life. And he started talking to me about charity. He started talking to me about one-day speaking. He started talking to me about being a starter for the Washington Redskins. He started talking to me about all the different things in his life that he wanted. And we put them down on paper. Now let me speed forward and then I'm going to bring you back. A few months ago, I received a message from Will. It was actually over Twitter. It was a tweet that he put out. And after I read the tweet, it was early on in the morning. I was flying to Philadelphia that day to give a talk. And all of a sudden, I look at the tweet, and the tweet was in alignment with a goal that he had already hit. So I sent him a text message. And I sent him a text message, and I say, it's amazing. I think you've hit almost all of the goals that you wrote down when we first met. The day we first met. Just like some of you have written down a big goal for you right now. And Will responded back, do you still have those goals? And I said, of course I still have those goals. You see, I had taken the notes on my iPad that day. The day was July 8th, 2013. I responded to Will by sharing his goals that he wrote down that day. It's now been over 4 years from the time that he and I had that conversation. I sent him the goals. He sends a message back to me. I've hit almost every single goal. I want to share with all of you. Here's the actual screenshot from my iPad that I sent to Will that day. And there's some things on here that I want to share with you because I think they're powerful. Because I think for you, the opportunity after our time together today is to go beyond. To go beyond just that one goal that you wrote down and to write down more. Listen to what Will writes. Playing a vital role in the Washington Redskins roster, maximizing his assets, giving back to his community with camps, volunteering, 5-year vision, earning a second contract, using the platform to give back more and more. And then here's one thing that Will established. I'm going to share this with you. We're going to dig a little bit deeper. Will actually wrote down what I call a prize fighter day. It was the action steps that if he followed through with them on a daily basis would give him the greatest probability of hitting his vision and his goals. So check this out. Will now believes, I am a linebacker with the Washington Redskins. Depth charts told him, no way. All the critics and all the individuals that were writing the article said, no way, this guy's not making the team. But he believed in it. And I asked Will questions that day. I said, Will, what are the things that you did at the University of Nebraska to be an unbelievable linebacker, to be a captain? Just like I could ask all of you, if you look at the big goal that you just wrote down, what are the things that you've already done in the past, the action steps, the activities, the disciplines that have already caused you to have success in that area? And what did the best period of time that you've had in that area look like? Think about this. Will writes down prayer. Now, I want to share with you everything I'm sharing right now. It's not private because Will put all of this out after our conversation just a handful of months ago, and it was on the Washington Post. I've subsequently written an article about it on Forbes for my contributing work for Forbes.com. So he wrote down prayer, how important prayer was. Also, okay, he writes down workout program, playbook, visualization, and nutrition. Why did he write down those things? Because we had a conversation. Will said, when I was at my best at the University of Nebraska, I knew the playbook better than anybody else. So if I know the playbook better than anybody else, that is something that I can control. My visualization, just like for all of you, you can have I am statements. You can believe, you can visualize yourself having the success before it happens. He said, in college, I visualized and it worked. I'm going to go back to visualization. And then the nutrition piece. His nutrition was 100% in his control. If he took care of what he put into his body would give him the energy that he needed. So think about the big goal that you just wrote down. If you followed through on a daily basis with the action steps that have already made you successful in that area, would you have a higher probability of achieving your goals? I don't know. Maybe let's take a look at Will Compton's story and let's see what happens. So July 8th, 2014, he writes down all these goals. You know he's achieved the goals because of what happened on Twitter. And now when you think about Will and what he's accomplished, in 4 years' time, his first 4 years in the NFL, this is completely improbable. He went from being an undrafted free agent in the NFL, undrafted, to being a starter. Not 1 year, 2-year starter. And actually started another half of a season in his second season. And last year, he became defensive captain for the Washington Redskins. Their last 2 years has been the two most winningest seasons in over a decade for the Washington Redskins. And he's a captain and a starter on that defense. 4 short years ago, he was undrafted. So what I think about when I hear that for you, before we talk a little bit more about what Will was thinking when he wrote down those goals, July 8th, 2013, just like you may have thoughts and doubts right now for you. Will, now the starting linebacker, right? The dream had come true. He just focused on one day at a time, which is what I know is going to work for you, because for you, it doesn't matter where you are right now. What matters is what you believe moving forward, because what you believe and what you put down on paper is now new thinking that'll drive your action to new opportunity in your life, new achievement in your life. Because our success, your success, it's not just about changing your habits, it's about changing the way that you think. One of the first rules of sports psychology, and it also applies to anybody in any business, is for an athlete to perform at their highest level, they can't solely rely on their natural talents and abilities. They have to understand the mental toughness side of what it takes to achieve peak performance. Will embraced this natural talent that he had, coupled with this new vision, and he went and made that dream come true. And the best part is, because of the habits that he's built, he's just getting started, and the rest of the story is going to be incredible and better than the first 4 chapters. But let me share with you, because Will put this out after I sent him the goals, after he realized the achievement, after he realized that everything ended up happening the way he had seen it in his mind. He's continued to set big goals. But I want to take you back to what he was thinking about, just like connecting with you on what you're thinking about right now, about the big goals and the big dreams, what he thought about when he wrote them down on paper. He actually put this out on Twitter. It ended up getting picked up by the Washington Post. So I'm not going to share all of it. I mean, this is pages upon pages of his thoughts. But listen to some of the highlights of what Will thought about on July 8th, 2013, when he wrote this down. These goals were my first true test while being extremely uncomfortable in asking these absurd goals of myself. They seemed absurd at the time. Does what you wrote down seem absurd to you? What undrafted, bottom of the depth chart, wears a camp jersey number 46, shoots for these types of goals? My job was to make sure that London Fletcher had coffee. Not to talk about my injuries because I'd be sent home packing. Use some of my condescending humor to build some relationships before I got cut. And then go home and pretend like I was in the NFL because I played in a few preseason games. He. Fast forward 4 years, I've accomplished almost all of my goals. Outside of training for my pro day, this was the first time I'd actually sat down and put goals on paper, the notes on an iPad, July 8th, 2013. I was between my first OTAs as a rookie and training camp that started in August. I wasn't confident about my future as a ball player, being undrafted. I wasn't confident about making the Skins, 7th out of 7 linebackers on the depth chart. I doubted myself with every word I put into that iPad. I did it because my mentor, Ben Newman, made me. And because I knew I had to start wiring my brain to think that way if I ever had a chance to make it. Now think about this for you. These are the most powerful words from everything that he wrote down about what he was thinking that day, just like you are having fears, doubts, potentially uncertainties about your ability to achieve what you just wrote down. I had to write it. I had to think about it. I had to discipline myself to the routines. I had to speak to it. And most importantly, I had to pray for it. Then I had to take massive action. Your mind is your most powerful weapon. The law of attraction is real. The way you believe, along with your intentional action, will do wonders that your mind can't even begin to fathom at this moment. Write stuff down, backtrack on it of the example of the person you want to be, exactly what that looks like, then take action and discipline to achieve it and bring others along. It's one of the things that I love about Will. He wrote down those goals. He challenged himself, but he has not done it alone. Will has given back to camps in his community. Will has gone across the country speaking and sharing his story to empower others to see more in themselves. You see, his story is a story of what it means to harness the power of your vision, to actually write down that big goal for you, but then to choose to do something about it. And I want to share a proven system, a way that I know for you, you'll have the opportunity to achieve those goals and to achieve those big dreams. It's called living to a standard rather than living to your feelings. What happens when we live to our feelings? If we live to our feelings, right? I'll give you some examples. We're focusing on our nutrition. We're focusing on being the best we can be, focusing on our diet, right? You believe what Will believed. The food you put in is going to give you your energy for the put out and what you have the ability to do. If you're focused on your nutrition and you walk by a big old piece of chocolate cake, living to your feelings is when you say, man, that diet can start tomorrow because that chocolate cake sure looks good today. Living to your feelings means I have a bulletproof workout program that's going to give me the ability to create concrete steps long over time, steps that are real, not a short fad diet or a short fad routine, but disciplined habits to change my life, to have a healthier heart, maybe for my family, maybe part of your vision. Yet that snooze button goes off in the morning and you look over at that, the alarm goes off, you look over at that snooze button, you say, I'm going to hit that snooze button. You know why? Because I want to sleep a little bit longer. And these sheets feel extra cozy and warm today. So you hit the snooze button because we're living to our feelings. What does it look like when you're driving success in your business or falling short in business? If you're falling short of where you want to be, sometimes we protect ourselves with our goals because that feels better. But when we make ourselves uncomfortable, it allows us to see what we're truly made of, just like Will Compton. If you're currently having success in your business, are you being seduced by the success that you're having and no longer doing the habits, the disciplines, taking the action that made you successful? That's living to your feelings. Or are you falling short of where you want to be? And because you're falling short and that does not feel good, you're not taking the action that you need to take in order to achieve your goals because you're just not feeling well. Imagine if one day at a time, you create a standard to live by. Look at Will's example. If you really break down the conversation he and I had that day when we sat there at the Panera Bread, when he was determined, he in his mind made it concrete, put it on paper. I am a linebacker with the Washington Redskins. When we went through what he calls a prize fighter day, that's what I call prize fighter day, but for him, his prize fighter day, those were the things that he could control. The prayer, the nutrition, that was his standard. For each and every single one of you, you have an opportunity to create a standard that you want to live by one day at a time. The Super Bowl champions I've worked with, the NCAA champions I've worked with, the champions in business that I've worked with, they have something in common. They focus on winning one day at a time. They're not worried about what happened yesterday. They're not worried about what they think may happen tomorrow, either good or bad. They are focused on one day at a time. And once you cast that big vision of where you want to go, creating a standard to live by and winning one day at a time is the greatest chance you have of achieving what you wrote down on paper. So what does that new standard look like for you? And if you live to that standard, the feeling that you get is the ability to look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, today I gave it everything that I had. And any of you from across the world joining us right now, all I would want for you is to be able to look in the mirror at the end of the day and say, today, I've given it everything that I had. I gave it my very best. I lived to the standard. I didn't succumb to my feelings. Because if you live to the standard and you know you've given it your best, nobody can ever ask any more of you than that. And you can never ask any more of yourself. I wish I could be with you guys all the time. And that is why, because of the fact right now, our one-on-one coaching program, my one-on-one work is completely booked. So our company is constantly finding ways how we can stay connected with you. Because just writing down the vision, that's not enough. I want the opportunity to work hand in hand with you so that just like Will, that big goal, that big vision, you have accountability, you've got the drive, your passion, your conviction is high on a daily basis. So today, you are the first individuals to ever hear about the opportunity to join the Mental Toughness Academy. Check this out, everybody. This is the Mental Toughness Academy. I have never done anything like this before to offer to all of you because our team got together and said, we have to have the ability to continue to have an impact. If you're doing webinars, you're doing speeches, there have to be ways to give more. Because I want for you the opportunity to give it your best every day, to live to that standard, but to have the highest probability of you achieving that vision. The Mental Toughness Academy is made up of 11 videos. It's 2.5 hours of content. In addition, you will all be the first ones, those on this webinar, you will be the first individuals ever to receive a copy of the second edition of your Mental Toughness Playbook, the 6 proven mental training tools we've put to the test with professional athletes, collegiate athletes, and champions in business. There have been over 100,000 downloads of the playbook. This is the second edition. It just came out. And this edition, this will be the first time you are the first ones to ever have the opportunity to see it. Your emotional trigger. It is the golden bullet in our one-on-one work with clients to get you into an ideal state of focus, to live to that standard, to win one day at a time. And if that's not enough, last year in Las Vegas, we had an unbelievable event with Jerry Rice and Tyron Woodley. And we're going to give you guys a little entry into the film room. You're going to have an opportunity to get the full interview of Jerry Rice and myself one-on-one in Las Vegas, talking about what it looks like and what it means to live to a standard. Vision, what it looked like for him being arguably the greatest NFL player to ever play the game. And then you're going to hear from UFC champion Tyron Woodley on what it takes to drive success through all challenge and adversity. Go check out that offer. You know, so many people, they talk to me about price all the time and price these things so high. And for those of you that know me so well, you've seen my heart as a result of what I've lived through and what I saw with these two eyes before I turned 8 years old. It is not about money for me. It's about the opportunity to stay connected and to make an impact. So you know what? People gave me ideas. You should price it at this and you should price it at that. So you know what? It was $199. And then I was like, forget that. Then it was $139 would be the discount. And I said, forget that. Just give it to them for 99 bucks. And in addition to this being $99 for you, that's not monthly. That's one time. You get access to everything that I just mentioned for $99. 2.5 hours of video. You get access to the second edition of the playbook that has your emotional trigger. I have never spoken about it publicly, and I've never put it in print. You guys also get access to that film room with Jerry Rice and the Tyron Woodley footage for $99 one time. Because I learned a long time ago in my speaking career that the opportunity to be with a group of individuals, it's not enough to just get people fired up and motivated. We have to have sustainability and long-term action. You actually looking at that vision that you wrote down at the beginning of our time together, to harness the power of that vision, that's when you actually create the standard to live by. You can do that right in the playbook and start to win one day at a time. I know by joining the Academy, this can do that for you. And the other thing I want to share, because many of you know my story, my mother taught me how to fight. My mother taught me about passion. My mother taught me about conviction. And on November 2nd, 1986, when my mother took the pen that she was writing with in her journal, when amyloidosis took her life, a rare muscle disease, my mother's fight never stopped. It just got started. And I fight every single day to continue to write the story of my mother's legacy. Just like I want you to look down at your big vision, your big goal you wrote down, and add more to it personally and professionally, and figure out what you want to fight for in your life. You can do that in the Mental Toughness Academy, and to figure out what you want your legacy to be. A portion of all of the proceeds, I have annual contributions for a research station at the Boston Medical Center in honor of my mother, because the fight still continues, because there's still no cure for amyloidosis. Portion of all proceeds will go to the commitment I have every year to that hospital. Also here in St. Louis, there's a brand new hospice facility from Barnes Jewish Hospital where my mother received care. A portion of all proceeds are going to a patient room that's named in honor of my mom, the Legacy Room. You see, part of my vision is doing everything I can to give back and to pay forward to other families, people in need, people who are struggling. So join me in this fight. Let's do this together, because writing down your vision on paper is not enough. We got to create the standard. We have to have a willingness and a passion and a fire to want to do something about it every single day. So I've got another story that I'm going to share just to kind of finish our time together. Short, sweet, a little extra passion and energy. But I want to spend a little time with some questions and answers for those of you that have thoughts about harnessing the power of your vision. You've got me right now. Let's enjoy this time. I'm here to answer questions. Start firing them at me, and I will be sure to give you guys some great answers in alignment with what you're thinking about right now, because if there's any doubts, fears, uncertainties, anything holding you back, just like Will had that day, I want to silence that little voice and be ready to charge after we hit our finish line. So I've got a question over here. Is it $99 for the entire Academy? Yes, it is. It's $99 for the entire Academy, and that is not monthly. That is a one-time charge that will give you lifetime access to the 2.5 hours of video, the second edition of the playbook, and those videos from the film room. And I'll tell you, those videos from Jerry Rice and Tyron, that's stuff that nobody's ever seen. And I'll tell you, having the opportunity to hear Jerry Rice just talk about greatness, to talk about those huddles that he had with the San Francisco 49ers, to talk about what it looked like to be an ideal state of focus, it was unbelievable. Jeannie, I appreciate you signing up. For those of you that sign up, so Jeannie has a question, you're going to start to receive all of those lessons via email. How do you flip from lacking belief in yourself to just the opposite? It starts, for me, I love thinking about those I am statements. So Justin, I really, really appreciate that question. So just think, Justin, think about something that you currently don't believe that you can achieve. And then you write down on paper that you can achieve it. And then just like Will, I am. If you want to be a marathon runner, I am a marathon runner, and believe in it. Because imagine if you fuel yourself by thinking about your vision every single day, and then you tell yourself you are in the achievement state of that goal before it even happens. What do you think happens with your daily action? And for many of us, our opportunity to achieve or to flip the script on how we think is by sharing the positive thoughts of that belief in ourselves repeatedly, day over day over day over day. Scott, the 11 and a half hours of videos, you're going to absolutely love it. Those are the videos that walk you directly through the mental toughness playbook. And then what you will have in conjunction with that, so that's for you to have the ability to build out that entire plan, to take action, to create that standard, is you will be one of the first individuals to have the second edition of the playbook, which has your emotional trigger. Never been put in print. I've never talked about it publicly. And then you'll have the access to the Tyron Woodley video, the UFC champ, as well as Jerry Rice. That footage alone is worth $99. We had people who paid over $5,000 to be at that Las Vegas event. Strategies for getting a second win or performing well when fatigued. Take your mind off of the fatigue. One of my dear friends, and that's one of the great opportunities for all of us. I still have coaches. I still have mentors. I have people who push me and challenge me to think bigger for myself, right? My vision is always being articulated in new and different ways when I'm challenged. I just rewrote mine 3 months ago. It's amazing the action I've been taking since I redid my vision. But there's breathing. There's a 6-2-7 breathing technique. This comes from Dr. Jason Selk. You breathe in for 6 seconds, hold for 2, release for 7. It physiologically reduces your blood pressure, and it causes you to focus on getting back into an ideal state rather than on doubt or fatigue. Justin, I appreciate you mentioning that. This is a great question. When you love doing so much and you're passionate about your life, how do you target that passion rather than being sidetracked into others? I think one of the key lessons I've learned is to stay in your lane. So many times we may see somebody else's goals and say, maybe those goals should be for me. Or you see somebody's purpose statement and say, maybe that purpose statement should be for me. Now, I would say to each and every single one of you, you are all uniquely qualified to do amazing things. When you believe in yourself, you will tap more in the potential that you've been given, which will lead you to take action, which will get you the results that you were destined to get, but you got to stay in your lane. Remember, the goal is to create the standard where you know you've given your best, and that's got nothing to do with anybody. Because all I want is for you to get to the end of the day and say, today I gave it everything that I had. Because remember what I mentioned, that's when you have the ability to know that nobody can ever ask any more of you than that, and you can't ask any more of yourself, but you know what that standard is. Jeannie, that's going to be coming from our team, and they should start coming today or tomorrow for you. Star, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So to each and every single one of you, here we've spent this time together, harnessing the power of your vision. Now, here's what I want you to think about. There's other questions that come through. I'll attack them, but I want to be able to share a little bit more with all of you. So think about this. You wrote down one goal, maybe 2 goals. Maybe 3 goals, right? Because some people, the reality is I asked you to write down a goal and you wrote a couple extras. What if you spent the time to really articulate and to design exactly what it is that you wanted? And part of your environment on a daily basis was to keep that right in front of you. What would happen? It would drive success on a whole new level for you. How do I know? Because this is the blessing I've been given every single day, is to do coaching work with individuals just like you that have greatness right inside of you. You have more potential right inside of you. But you can't just write that vision up in the air. You can't just write it down on paper. You got to grab it every single day. Keep fighting to be your best, to give just a little bit more every single day to be the best that you can be. I've seen this story written hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of times. You are the author of your story. I can't wait to stay connected, to read your story, to get updates from you. Send us updates on social media. Send us updates via email. In the second edition of the playbook, there's all the ways that you can stay connected on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and my personal email and everything you need to do in order to stay connected to drive your greatness. Now, one more question. I got one. Hold on. Suggestions or advice for structuring your day-to-day so that it becomes routine. Create that standard. Create the standard. And then I'll tell you, there's going to be an article coming out on Forbes.com within the next 2 weeks on what the greats do. Morning routine is so important. Build your morning by having your morning set the tone of positivity through a workout, eating right, reading your vision, doing the things you need to do in the morning to set the tone for the rest of the structure for your day. Be efficient with your time. Be efficient with your days. And recognize that you have an opportunity through your efficiency and structure and organization in your day to make it easier for you to give your best. And then remember that standard piece, or your prize fighter day, as we like to call it. That's the proven tool that we use to drive the standard, to create and to drive that vision to completion. You'll have that right there in the playbook. Design it. Take the action steps, the disciplines. It's not about results. It's about giving your best every single day. I can't tell you how much I have enjoyed this opportunity to be with each and every single one of you, to have this webinar, to spend this time, to talk about harnessing the power of your vision, to share one story in Will Compton. Your story's coming next. I can't wait for you to write your story on a whole new level, to take that vision, to pull it down, to put it right in front of your face, and to live that standard every single day. Now, one more thing I want to address. One more thing I want to address, which might be the most important thing. If there are any fears, doubts, or uncertainties that hold you back right now, let it go. Just let it go. Any doubts, fears, or uncertainties, just let it go. Because I can tell you the periods of time in my life where maybe I was held back or not having the ability to give everything that I had. And that even happens in periods of time where maybe some of you would have thought I was achieving at a high level. Happened to me last year. I was with Tyron Woodley when he won the UFC welterweight champion of the world, followed by a big talk in Dallas the next day, then Jacksonville Jaguars training camp. And then the very next day, I went to Orlando, and I had a buddy of mine, Justin, recommend that I watch a Tony Robbins video. And this Tony Robbins video, I am not your guru. See, I promote other people's stuff too. I promoted Dr. Selk and Tony Robbins. There's so much to learn. It's not just the Mental Toughness Academy. It's other people that can help us continue to grow and to learn to be our best. And I had somebody say to me, just check out this video. He was all fired up about it. So I show up to the airport. Picture this. I set up at the bar and I order a salad and a glass of water. I flip open my iPad and I turn on this I Am Not Your Guru Tony Robbins video. We're 19 minutes in. And all of a sudden, Tony Robbins, he asked this young girl, about 19 years old, he says, asked her to stand up, and he asked her, what holds you back? What holds you back? And she says, my dad did this, my dad did this, my dad did that, my dad did this, my dad did this, my dad did that. And all of a sudden, Tony Robbins looks at her and says, what if you shifted your perspective? And what if you recognized that everything that has happened to you up until this point in your life has happened the exact same way that it was supposed to? And it's made you the person you are, and you can achieve whatever you want to achieve in your life. I'm watching this video. I'm sitting at the bar with my salad and my glass of water, and I got tears pouring down my face, crying like a baby. I told you I was emotional. American Ninja Warriors, I cry when I watch Extreme Home Makeovers, crying like a baby. You know, that bartender was looking at me like, this dude isn't even drinking and he's crying. But the reason why I had those tears pouring down my face is because Tony Robbins wasn't just talking to that young girl. Tony Robbins was speaking to me. You see, the thousands of times at that point in my career, I had shared my mother's story. People would ask me, but what about your dad? When my dad moved back in after my mother's passing, it was a world of high expectation. It was tough. And after watching that video as a 37-year-old man, I had the opportunity to build up the courage, which took a month. It wasn't right away, to pick up the phone and to call my dad and to say, Dad, there's a couple things I want to talk to you about, because that day Tony Robbins was talking to me. No matter what success I've had, we all have fears, doubts, and uncertainties that hold us back. I called my dad and I said, Dad, I said, number one, I said, there have probably been periods of time in our relationship where I've been too hard on you, and for that, I'm sorry. And I said, number two, you and I have been through a lot of negative, Dad. And we've been through positive, lots of positive, but a whole lot of negative. And I've decided to let it go. I'm not going to hold on to the negative anymore. I now recognize that everything that has happened in our relationship happened exactly the way that it was supposed to. And I thank you and I love you. My dad paused. I paused. And then after a while, my dad says, I think I'm going to have to sit here in my chair for a while. I never thought I would receive a call like this. And when I hung up that telephone, it was like the weight of the world had been lifted from my shoulders. This big black box that I was carrying around, maybe your black box that holds your fears, your doubts, your uncertainties. Maybe your black box is tiny, mine was big. And I just let it all go. So for each and every single one of you, as you have this new shift in your thinking, you think about this big vision, you think about these big goals, you may end up working harder than you ever thought you could work, and it's going to be tough, and you're going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to question whether you want to do it, and you're going to have fears and doubts and uncertainties as if it's working. But just trust me, you are one hell of an author, writing one hell of a story. Stay in your lane, give every day everything that you've got. And if anything is holding you back, just let it go. Thank you for this opportunity to be with all of you. I look forward to staying connected with you through the Mental Toughness Academy. Continue to write your story and go do great things.